From massive spikes in the price of everyday commodities like milk and eggs, to major falls in foreign exchange reserves, Pakistan's economy is in distress. So what exactly is going on? Keep watching. Hello and welcome to another episode of The Data Point. Today we're taking a look at the turbulent state of Pakistan's economy. Historically, Pakistan's economy has always been in flux, but the current economic situation seems to be worse than what we've seen in the more recent past. In fact, with surging inflation, depreciating currency, free-falling foreign exchange reserves, and widespread blackouts, conditions in Pakistan are starting to look quite similar to what we saw in Sri Lanka last June. Take the blackouts, for example. Pakistan's energy grids are unable to keep up with the demand, a situation that was made worse in the aftermath of last year's disastrous monsoon floods. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, the blackouts are causing an estimated $70 million loss to Pakistan's textile industry, one of its largest export sectors. In January 2023, Pakistan's retail inflation hit 27.6%. That's a 48-year high. Urban food inflation spiked to 39%, while rural food inflation hit 45.2%. Both rural and urban food inflation has stayed in the double digits for over 10 months. This has drastically pushed up the price of everyday essentials like wheat, onions, milk, and eggs. Take wheat. The average cost of a 20-kilogram bag of wheat flour in January 2022 was 1,165 Pakistani rupees. In January 2023, the price of that same bag was 1,735 rupees. That's a 50% rise. If we take a look at the price of 1 kilogram of onions, we see that it quintupled from 40 rupees to 230 rupees over the past year. 1 liter of milk has gone from 115 rupees in 2022 to 150 rupees last month. The price of a dozen eggs has especially spiked, going from 177 rupees to 285 rupees this past January. This is happening against the backdrop of several news reports claiming that thousands of containers with essential food items, raw materials, and medical equipment are stuck in ports. Why? Because of a shortage of dollars. The State Bank of Pakistan has practically emptied its foreign reserves, hitting a 9-year low. The Dawn reported that forex reserves, quote, plunged to $3.6 billion due to external debt repayments. At this level, the reserves provide import cover for 3 weeks against a standard minimum of 3 months, unquote. So naturally, as the value of the Pakistani rupee falls and the country empties out its forex reserves, paying for imports becomes a challenge. This is especially concerning because Pakistan relies heavily on imports. According to a working paper by the Asian Development Bank, Pakistan's reliance on imports stems from the fact that they did not produce the machinery that's crucial for manufacturing and infrastructure development. Pakistan's exports are made up of mostly textiles and agriculture-related goods. So while we see the country's dependence on imports is continuing to rise, exports remain stagnant. So of course, we end up seeing the trade deficit widening over the past few years. Moreover, Pakistan is seeing its expenses rising, even though revenues aren't keeping up. Interest payments make up a major chunk of expenses, so development-related spending is forced to take a back seat. That being said, Pakistan hasn't been able to mobilize its tax revenues either because of its narrow tax base and concessions. In fiscal year 2022, Pakistan's total revenue as a share of GDP fell to 12%. On the other hand, total expenditure as a share of GDP rose to nearly 20%. So with all this borrowing and spending, Pakistan's total debt and liabilities in FY22 reached 59,697 billion Pakistani rupees. That's 89% of its GDP. Pakistan's total debt has been consistently rising over the years, with a peak in FY20 when it hit 93.8% of its GDP. So as Pakistan negotiates its 13th bailout with the IMF against a backdrop of political instability and heightened climate threats, it's unclear what the economy will have to face next.